Okay. It's behaving a little different today than it did yesterday. Yesterday, I pressed the record button and it gave me a choice to record. Today, it recorded, so they probably got some feedback from somebody. Made a little tweak to the interface. Who knows? Might get worse. Okay. Now let's see. This is, as I said, MDE 61. I'm also addressing this to distance students. We've got a few distance students. So it's a support course for pre-calculus. We record sessions. And as I said, don't talk while this thing's recorded. If you got a question or something, raise your hand or jump up and down or throw something at me, whatever it takes, get my attention. We'll take the question, okay? Because I'll walk over here, pause the thing, and we can talk. All right. I don't like that. I like where we can just spontaneously chime in, at least especially in a small class. In a big class, I can lead the pandemonium, but sometimes it's good pandemonium, but we can't do it. So we'll live with what we got to live with. This is a support course for pre-calculus. The only A's I've had in my pre-calculus courses are from people who are also in this course in the last 2 years. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of people in this course don't do all the work. And even though the success rate for people in this course is somewhat better than the success rate for people in pre-calculus, I think one of the reasons for that might be that you have enough sense to be here. And if you got that much sense, you probably have enough sense. It's more likely you'll have enough sense to pass pre-calculus. Okay. So again, I'm very glad that you're here. I'm very glad that you made that good decision. And I hope it turns out to be a good decision for you. Yeah, that's a little there. Okay. The overall strategy in this course, we'll go over the syllabus in a minute, but the overall strategy for this course is to jump out ahead of pre-calculus with some pretty basic stuff, okay? And what we do in here is not at the level of pre-calculus, at a slightly lower level, but the idea is that when you see it in pre-calculus, I think it's best if you already know something, okay? You make better use of your time in a pre-calculus lecture or type of class if you already have some idea what you're going to see. All right. That doesn't mean we don't also respond to the idea that, okay, hey, we're having this tremendous problem in this area of pre-calculus. Okay. And we're already there. And yeah, the little preview we got in MDE 61 was helpful, but we got to get over the hump. So we have to address things like that too. But the overall strategy is try to give you what you're going to see in pre-calculus. Kind of warm up your brain, till the soil a little bit so it'll be fertile. Okay, that makes sense. So we'll see how it works, and there are plenty of options for just exactly how all that plays out. Okay, let's jump to the syllabus, which I just handed out. And disclaimer, I've made some corrections. I had to edit and rearrange all my syllabi. There are about 8 of them. And I just found that out in time to realize that and another curveball has come at me. Made it pretty intense. So I'm sure there are some errors in this. I'm not complaining. I got it done. Okay. And I can correct any errors on the syllabus on the website, okay? A Canvas. You have a syllabus link at Canvas. Everybody seen the syllabus link at Canvas? And you're gonna see the same thing here. There might be a few minor corrections. But let's see what this says. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we want to jump into the course, but we want to make sure you understand what you need to understand. Okay, so you see my name, Dave Smith. Got my office hours. Usually I'm here. Sometimes I'm in my official office over in the OTC building. Okay. Sometimes I step out. Okay. Maybe I step out just to walk around the building, clear my head so I can come back and continue doing things efficiently. So it might be gone for 5 minutes. Okay. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, when I go out and walk around the buildings, the governor catches me and asks my advice on education. And you know, who can turn down the governor, right? I'm just kidding. But anyhow, seriously, if somebody catches me, you know, sometimes a student has a serious question, got to discuss it for a minute. Might take me a little longer to get back. Okay, but usually if I'm out, the door will be open. You can come on in. Shouldn't have to wait over like 5 minutes. If the door is closed, then you would usually put a note on the door saying I'm in the OTC office. And usually got the door closed there, you knock. Okay. Not that I'm trying to put a barrier in front of you, just some stuff I do is I've got privacy protected information scattered around the room. So that's gonna give me just a minute. Get that out. Okay. Okay. And usually I don't have privacy protected information scattered around this room, although I did all of last week. But the doors. Okay. So basically, I'm usually here. Sometimes I'm there, and usually there'll be a no telling that. Okay. And sometimes I'm out for a couple of minutes. I got to go over to the cop and fix something up. One thing or another. We have the course title and description, which you can read. It just says what you already know. It's for students co-enrolled in pre-calculus. Review foundational topics through direct instruction, guided practice, individualized support. In other words, whatever we decide to do. Okay. And we'll do whatever seems to make the most sense. Required prerequisite knowledge comes down to this. You should have a pretty solid knowledge of Algebra 1. Okay. And some familiarity with Algebra 2. Because we can't teach you Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. There's some things in Algebra 2, yeah, you're going to need refresher on. Even some things in Algebra 1. We will refresh you, but we're not going to focus teaching on that course, those courses. We're going to focus teaching on the parts of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 that you need for pre-calculus. And then also how these things are used in pre-calculus. Okay. If you need help with Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, we have a tutor center. I think we've got some pretty good tutors. We usually do. And they're online tutoring options. But it's not part of this course. And actually, if you have questions, I bring them up in class. Try to meet. So you can read the rest of this required prerequisite knowledge. It's pretty much what you know. We have the major topics. Factoring, something you should be familiar with. Simplifying algebraic expressions. Okay, those are basic to Algebra 1. Graphing. And of course, graphing gets a lot more sophisticated in pre-calculus. Okay, number one, we don't use a graphing calculator. Okay, we graph by hand, especially in my courses. So I'm not going to teach you how to use a calculator. I'm sure you already know. If the course you're in, if you're not in my section, somebody else's section might have a little different take on the use of calculators. Okay. Well, reason people have so much trouble with pre-calculus, I think, is instead of learning stuff, they've done stuff in calculators. And you haven't processed, engaged with the material and the information. And as you'll find out if you're in my pre-calculus class, it's real easy to learn your basic graphing. I'm going to actually do that in my class today. And you know, in pre-calculus, you don't graph by plotting points. Okay, you don't make a table and plot points. You identify the kind of function you have, and you transform that function to a graph. Now, you want to understand what I just said. It's a somewhat challenging process, but it gets the job done, whereas plotting points does. Okay. For example, if you have a function whose interesting behavior is way over here on the graph, and you plot points from here to here, so all you plot is this part, you never see this part. You never even know it's there. So this plotting points thing is unnecessary and overrated, although that's how you start with graphing, and everybody knows how to plot points. That's not a problem. So, you know, pre-calculus takes you into other stuff. Now, you get on to asymptotic behavior, power, polynomial, rational functions, inverse functions and stuff. I'm not even going to read these to you because most of you probably don't know what a lot of that means. And there's no point in reading a bunch of words to you you don't understand. The more of those words you understand, the better. But I don't expect that most of you understand the rest of what's there. And then course objectives, again, most of these course objectives are things that you want to understand if you read them. What I advise you to do is, after a couple of weeks, go back and read them, and you'll find out that now you know some of them. Okay? And now you know what some of these other objectives mean. And every couple of weeks, week or two, you'll go back and reread this. You know, just these lists of objectives. So, okay? That's advice nobody ever takes because everybody's always too busy, but it would be to your benefit to do that. So try to be one of the exceptions and look at that. And if you do that for a month and find out it's not helpful, well, do what's helpful. Okay, so we have these objectives for different kinds of functions and systems of equations. You can read that list. Okay. Now, the nature of the course, typical class, is engaged. What did I say? Designed to engage students actively as opposed to passively in the learning process. That means when you're in here, you're going to be doing stuff, not just sitting there watching. Okay. You watch for a while, I give you something to do. I'll circulate around, see how you're doing. Give you a little bit. Okay. You're going to have my open math. Some of you have already enrolled yourself in that. Has everybody seen the Canvas page for this course? Has everybody been to that page? Have you followed all the instructions in the first couple of announcements? No, most of you haven't. Some of you have. Okay, but if you follow all the instructions, I'd see you on the roster for my open math. And I only see maybe half of you. Now, which half of you, or which half of you, or which half of you, I don't know. No, I only see half as many names as there are on the roster. Now, there are 8 names on the roster. There's 7 of you. I don't know who's missing. And, you know, I'm going to digress for a minute. But before I do, follow the instructions. I'm not going to tell you what the instructions are. I want you to read them and follow. And if you have trouble with them, if you say, I've read the instructions and I don't understand this, or I don't understand that, put it in an email or come see me and I'll tell you what you're missing. Okay? We'll get it straight. It's not difficult. So if you don't have it, make sure you get it before next class because you're going to have homework. All right. Now I'm going to stop for just a minute before the roster disappears from my screen. Okay, we just wrote to take attendance. Something here prompted me to realize I need to do that. Okay. This course is not graded on an ABCDF scale. Doesn't affect your point average. So even if you're unsuccessful in the course, it's not going to affect your point average, but you would get a U on the transcripts. Yeah, which doesn't look great, but probably doesn't hurt terribly badly. Much better than like an average, okay? Which would affect your point average. The grading in this course, there are two ways to get a satisfactory grade. One is pass your 161 course. Automatically you pass this one. Two, it's possible to pass this without passing the 161 course. I'm going all blurry here. Do I look blurry? I mean, a little bit maybe. Okay. I look really blurry. And now I think it's changed focus. As soon as I walk away from this thing, so hey, I don't know. Standard. The camera behaves much better if I show it a picture. And it stays in focus. And it doesn't have a manual focus. Great camera. Does a lot of good things. Why did they put a manual focus on it? Just another design flaw to irritate me. That's why they did it. Okay. Well, minor inconvenience. Okay, as I was saying, the other way to pass this course, even if you have not to pass the Math 161, is to pass the tests that are going to happen this semester. Okay? They're easier than the tests in Math 161. And participate, be here, take the effort. And that's what it comes down to. That, in my judgment, I mean, if you pass the test, you automatically get there. I might, if you're close to passing and I judge that you're able to go on Math 161 with a good chance of success, I'll probably pass it. Okay. In other words, I'm going to use a standard of reason. Okay. If you were to then, now we do have this, but I better not say this on camera because it's officially illegal, so I won't. But anyhow, you want to stick with this course even if you don't stay in 161, because you keep learning. And then you take 161 later, hopefully without the repeat of this course. Okay. And you should be much better prepared second time around. Okay. And there's no shame in taking 2 times around past Math 161, because it's well known that people don't come out of the secondary school courses really very well prepared for Math 161. Okay. And it goes back to what I said. It's the courses are focused on the people who will never take 161. They don't have the interest in discipline or anything, but they've got to pass. Okay. And it leaves the top students. In most cases, some people do a good job of educating the whole spectrum of their class. The bottom line for your high school teachers is generally everybody has to pass. So people who can do it, pick it up easily, don't have to do that much. I think that's fairly typical. And that's why we have to have, that's one of the reasons why we have to have this. Again, we're going to try to bring you up to the level if you need it. Support you if you have trouble with pre-calculus. And that's our whole goal. Whole goal in this course is give you what you need to pass pre-calculus, and not just pass it. Like I say, the only A's I've given in the last 2 years are people in this course. Comment on AI, and it basically comes down to don't let AI or anything else do the homework for you. Engage the material, write it out. I want you to have a dedicated notebook where you write out your work on the homework. Okay? Then I can look at that and see very quickly how you're approaching your problems. And I can give you some advice and try to bring you along and make you much better at it. Okay? And if you're a distance student, do it the same way. If you're a distance student, the videos are going to be posted. Expect you to view the videos and do what's said. Now, if it turns out you're able to do the homework and actually do it, not let ChatGPT and other resources do it for you, that's okay, but I really strongly recommend you have that notebook. Okay. And if you're writing so much in the notebook that it's giving you writer's cramps, and I can see by your work that you don't need to do it all, I can tell you individually, okay, that's good. You could go with a little less detail. And I know you know these details. And I can do that with distance students as well. If you send me copies of your work, which you do by getting a scanner app on your phone or going to a scanner if you don't have a phone, sending me a good scan copy or a single document with JPEGs in it, PDFs. Okay. And I'm always glad to look at it and give you feedback. You can expect daily quizzes. In other words, you have the homework, get the homework, and the purpose of the homework is to prepare you for the quiz you're going to have when you come into class. It's over recent assignments. Maybe emphasis on the last assignment. It might be on the last week's of assignments. Could be, I mean, I could put anything on it, but it'll be something that you need feedback on as far as I can judge it, and something I need to see so I can see how well you're getting. Because that will determine what I do in class. I take a quick look at those quizzes, see what patterns I see, and then I figure out what we need to do. Okay. It's not like I need to prepare the material. I don't remember the time when I didn't know this stuff. I think I was 3. No, just kidding. But I do need to, the preparation I have is make sure I know what it is that you were supposed to do, so I can give you a reasonable quiz and then make the decisions in class as to how we proceed. A lot of that's going to depend on how you respond, what you prepare to learn, and so forth. Okay. Say attendance is mandatory. I don't analyze lack of attendance. Although if you show up today and never show up again, I'll probably drop you from the course before time for you to get your refund. Okay. And if I would happen to do that, I mean, if you got sick and you're too sick to let me know and I drop you, you can appeal it. Yes. And I just had COVID for 2 weeks. Can I get back in? I said, do a little work here and show me that you're serious about this thing, and I'll let you back in. Okay. Since we don't have a problem of too many students in this class, I'll be pretty lenient about letting you back in. And since there's no real A, B, C, D, E, F, one other thing about withdrawal, if you don't do substantive work, and it says so in here, by September 11th, which is the 15% date which you can get refunded. Okay, I will withdraw you. Again, subject to appeal. If you really want back in, I can let you back in. But after that, then, if you do that, it's like you never were in the course, nothing on your transcript, nothing. If you don't, then by October 30th, you can still choose to withdraw. Okay, and same goes for your pre-calculus course. You still choose to withdraw, but then a W goes in your transcript. Doesn't affect your point average, it's just noted and choose to complete the course. And another thing, I'm not going to withdraw you from this course under any circumstances if your pre-calculus instructor tells me you're attending and doing work. Okay. And I actually think there's something in there. If I was to withdraw you from this course, it would automatically withdraw you from that one, and I certainly wouldn't do it. Okay. Okay, well, areas to be covered, topics previously listed are the same as those in pre-calculus. Okay. Identical topics taught at a somewhat easier level. Discussion board, we might use discussion board, and if so, use it. Okay. Turns out that's a good thing to do, we'll do it. I've already talked about the grading policy. But it's a little more specific. You get a satisfactory grade by attending at least 85% of the class sessions, actively participating in class activities, scoring at least 60% on each test, or attaining a 70% test average. Okay? Pretty specific. If you score at least 60% on the final exam, which is actually optional. In other words, if you know you're going to pass pre-calculus, you blow off the final exam in this course. Okay? It won't matter. You'll pass this course. Okay? But you better be confident that you're passing pre-calculus. It'd look really weird if you pass pre-calculus and failed this. Okay? Or failed this because you failed pre-calculus and didn't take the exam. Okay. And I say passing grade in co-enrolled math 161 and 67% attendance here guarantees you grade of satisfactory in this course. Okay. And what you do here doesn't affect your grade in math 161. Okay. That instructor, whether it's me or somebody else, will grade you based on your performance in math 161. Criteria for grading. Now, one thing I need to be sure goes into the syllabus, whether it's absolutely necessary. I might say it somewhere else. Something note. Your tests and major quizzes. Now, daily quizzes are done in here. Okay. But tests and exams and anything that counts on the level of tests and exams needs to be proctored. They'll be in the testing center. And you won't be able to use your calculator, but there's a calculator they will allow you to use. Okay. It's a very basic calculator, just does arithmetic. It's the same one that you believe it for SAT tests, I think. Casio FX 260. So and I'll tell you this when it comes time for a test. At some point you want to go over there and familiarize yourself with the calculator. Know where the testing center is? Okay, it's in the library. Just go to the library and ask somebody where the testing center is. But it's pretty obvious. Don't email me from Canvas. email me from your VHCC account. Don't email me from your personal account. Okay, because I can't keep track of it. And I can't keep track of Canvas. Canvas email is an atrocity, but I think they kind of maybe overdone the privacy thing. There are probably reasons for it, but I can't search it. I can't do anything with it. And I also can't open attachments without jumping through 7 or 8 different hoops. If you email me from Canvas, you can accidentally email me from Canvas. Well, if it's something that's going to take me 6 or 7 hoops to jump through, I'm going to respond and say, hey, send me this through VHCC email. Very beginning, I'll probably jump through the hoops once. And they'll tell you that. Okay. It's easy to forget. Easy to do, it's automatic. Okay. Now we got stuff on students with disabilities. If you got a disability, learning disability, usually the disability comes down to, I'll get a little note that says, this person needs extra time on the test. Okay. Well, everybody gets extra time because I don't put a deadline in the test. No time. Okay. The test in this course usually not that long. It's not a big deal. But I do have people in other courses who will sit there all day trying to get an extra point or two. Okay. And that kind of applies to pre-calculus. I'll talk about that in my class. So if you got disabilities, though, right along that hall, right there, you got all kinds of people who can refer you to the right person to talk to. Okay. Academic conduct, read the student handbook, but said disruption of teaching, research, administration, disciplinary procedures, or other college activities won't be tolerated. College won't tolerate it, but more importantly, I won't tolerate it. Don't push me to that one. Okay, I don't tolerate disruption. I do tolerate a little, conversation, class and stuff like that. But if it's disrupting or other people are being disrupted, then I'll politely ask you to not do it. If you don't, then I get less polite. Okay. Academic integrity, students must do their own work, no exceptions. That emphasis, capital letters, underline, is from the college, not from me. Okay. But I mean it too. And you can read, you can get dismissed from class, you can fail a course, risk dismissal from the program of the college. Now it's hard to cheat on the exams because they know how to proctor. Okay. It's harder to cheat on homework than you might think because I can smell it a mile away. But my philosophy on that is if you're cheating on homework, you're probably going to fail the course anyhow. So I don't even do anything about it. Okay. But it's bad for your integrity. If I know you're cheating, I lose a little respect for you, although I'm not ready to ship you off to the desert island for it. You lose respect when you do that. A list of what constitutes dishonesty, cheating, and so forth. If you don't understand any of that, ask me and I'll explain it. But read it. And particularly, it's fine to use any resource you find on the internet to learn the material. That would include any AI, artificial intelligence, okay? But it's not fine to use it to get the answers to your homework. You got to do your homework yourself after you maybe used other resources, including what we do in class, okay? Again, it's really stupid to do that sort of thing anyway, because you don't learn the material. And if you don't understand that, then try to bring yourself around a little better to reality, because some people really don't. Okay? I think you all do, but you got to mention that. And I don't know who's out there in my distance course, but I think if you're smart enough to have gotten yourself into this course, you probably got something on the bottom. Okay? There's a number website. There's a college-wide emergency. Okay? So it's good to have that like on speed dial. You know, that the only real emergency I can think of that's ever happened here is a tornado a few years ago tore some of the roof off of the building next to us. The worst tornado. You know, you got roof stuff starting to fall on you. It's uncomfortable. It can be distracting, even irritating. You seriously injure you, could kill you. That would be an emergency. And you know, tornadoes are getting worse. I just found out that in Cleveland, Ohio, I grew up 60 miles from Cleveland, spent 7 years in college and graduate school. Pretty good institution there. Had a lot of friends there. Actually stopped at the end of July and visited with some friends. Some of them I had seen for a couple of decades on my way from Michigan back to here. There's something I clicked on. Some tornadoes in Cleveland. There were 3 tornadoes that didn't kill anybody, did some serious damage, and you know, like 100,000 people were without power for 3 weeks. So you never worry about tornadoes in Cleveland. And there'd been one big one many years ago, 460 miles an hour where I live. You get a little something. So now they're starting to show up in places they didn't used to. So that's a digression, but you know, if there's an emergency like a tornado or something like that, or anything else, you know, somebody on campus threatening violence, that would qualify as an emergency, obviously. Have that information ready for it. Okay, we got some deadlines. I had these all screwed up originally. I had winter's deadlines. But the last day to add a class was yesterday. It's wrong. It's the last day to pay for a class. Last day to add a class is Friday. If people aren't reading this. Doesn't take long to go through and fix that in pace. Then you have, I went ahead and printed a college calendar here that shows all those dates. Okay. Last day to pay is yesterday, I think. Last day to add a class is Friday. And then 2 weeks from tomorrow, the 11th, it's the last day to drop it out and get a refund. Just wipe the fact that you took class for a couple of weeks off the record books. Okay. There's some instructions here on how you drop a class. Okay. Navigate student information system, self-service drop a class. Hope they haven't changed that. And then all the stuff that I've already explained is there. Finally, there's mental health support. Now, mental health doesn't mean you're crazy or dangerous or uh, non-functional. Could mean you just, man, life's getting the better of you and you don't know how you're gonna get it all done and you start not to be able to sleep. Okay, that's a mental health issue. It's not, no stigma on that. It happens to everybody at some point in life if they're paying attention. Okay. You get overwhelmed. I was semi-overwhelmed last week, but it didn't interfere with my sleep. Okay. Or other things, it's difficulties. You use little somebody to help you through, talk to. We got arrangements with local and regional counseling centers and stuff. It's all done in confidence. You go to the people in that hall there, they'll direct you to the right one, but I've given you names and email addresses, I think, numbers and all this, all that stuff. Okay. By all means, talk to somebody. It can be very helpful. Okay. Now I'll give you a chance to ask any questions. Okay. First thing, today I've assigned the introduction to my open math. Has anybody done that? Okay. Not everybody is on them. I'm actually going to give you until tomorrow to do that, but you really want to get it done today. So give me just a second. Move that to tomorrow. You're going to need to just do what it says. Go to my open math course and start reading. Okay. Explain where to find assignments and so forth, and then do the assignment on exponents. Okay, basic exponents. And we start with that just because it's a little bit challenging because people usually don't know it very well. It's also something that everybody has seen. And it's one of those things that people keep screwing up on in their pre-calculus courses. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to ask you to, just maybe do a couple little problems. Incidentally, in the middle of each table or each cluster of tables, there's a bunch of scrap paper. You can always grab a piece of scrap paper and work on the backup if you don't have anything else. And when we do quizzes, we're going to do them on that scrap paper because sometimes I run them through the scanner. And if you tear something out of your notebook, it's going to be prone to messing up the copier. So we're going to do any daily quiz on that. The next time you can expect a quiz on next one. So I'm just going to give you something to do right now. The second times 2 to the 5th is 2 to the what power? What rule have you applied? I'm just trying to, sort of gauge the class a little bit, see where you are with your algebra. See how much I need to talk about this. Okay, I'm seeing a variety of answers. Some of them are right, some of them aren't, but it gives me a good idea how you're looking at this. I'll show you how to look at it. What's 2 to the second mean? It doesn't mean 4. it is equal to 4, but it doesn't mean 4. 2 to the second means 2 times 2. Okay. Now I could ask you to write out what does 2 to the 5th mean, but I'm pretty sure everybody would get that one. 2 to the 5th means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Right? So write out 2 to the second times 2 to the 5th means don't bother copying down what I wrote here. And usually when I ask you to do something in class, stop copying the board because you're going to be able to see it when I post it in the video, right? And maybe you go back and copy it when there's a little slack time. But, taking notes doesn't mean copying everything you see in the board. Okay? Taking notes really means being active. Copying is a passive thing. When I say that, copying is the combination of active and passive. It can be passive, where you just copy without thinking about it. Or maybe you copy while you're thinking about it, and that can be useful. Okay, so make your own judgment whether what you do there. But now I'm asking you to do this, and we don't want to take too long on it. So see if you can write that out. I'll give you a couple, 30 seconds or so to process it. Another 30 seconds to write it out. Show me what you think you've got. Okay, now, again, I'd say, got a few answers to the most literal answer here. What follows this pattern? Pattern is 2 times 2 means this, 2 to the 5th means this. So it's really only one thing that this can mean. It means 2 times 2 multiplied by 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay. Is that obvious? Okay. Is it obvious that this follows a very clear pattern from this? Now, of course, this equals, these are all multiplications, so we don't really need all these parentheses. So we can write this as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Right? And this equals 2 to the 1. Write it out. Just tell me what power of 2 you got there. Okay. So the jackpot goes to everybody who said it was the 7th power of 2. You go back to what it means, not to something you memorize, not to some formula you don't understand. Go back to meanings when you can. Okay? Think about what things mean. Now we can then extend this. How do you get 7 out of 2 and 5? Well, camera's on, so you can't answer, but you add them, right? You can add 2 and 5, you get 7. And you see why you add them, because you have to write down a couple of them here, you have to write down 5 of them here, and then you're going to have 2 plus 5 of them. And that's just the fundamental thing you got to understand about exponents. If you're just trying to use formulas that you memorize, you're going to forget them. Okay, and majority of you did. You were able to do them. You had to. Algebra 1. Okay. And then if you didn't reinforce it for a while, you forgot them, then you had to use them again. Another course. Okay. And you remembered them for a little while, but you're just remembering a bunch of symbols rather than a meaning. The meaning is very simple. Okay. Now, let's try another one. Okay. Just kind of write down your answer and put a big circle around it. It took me a little longer to see what you were doing because you didn't exactly do what I asked you to. That's okay. We'll get used to this. We want to do this more efficiently, so I can just walk around and see in about 30 seconds rather than to have them focus my eyes. And I don't wear glasses except for reading. My eyes are about 100 years old. And I've got a little bit of cataract thing that's not bad enough to operate on. So you're going to have to make them kind of clear. Okay. If you write lightly and small, I'm going to have to pick up your notebook and look at it, which is a lot. It ends up with the whole class taking an extra minute or two. If I've got a strain, see what you've got. Okay. So the answer that I kind of specified was just this. Nice big letters, circle where I can see it. Okay. Now, if you wanted to write out, that's okay too. If you couldn't help yourself and you just had to write it this way, I need to see it. And I don't want to have, I don't mind looking, I'm used to looking at things, but I don't want to take the time to find it in a page full of stuff. And sometimes that page is as disorganized as the stuff I write. If so, yeah, my sympathy. You know, I don't want to have to sort. I want to have to spot what I'm looking for. As we do this frequently, I'll ask you something, I'll ask you for something, then I want to see something circled and problem. Okay? We'll get used to that. That's not going to be a problem. All right, well, there's another question we can ask about that. Okay. Looking for that question mark. What power of 2 would we multiply by 2 to the 6th in order to get 2 to the 3rd? Okay, well, some people notice that 3 is half of 6 and they wanted a half in there someplace. Okay. Now, if you put a half in here, what's 2 to the 6th multiplied by 2 to the 1/2? Well, you've got to treat exponents the same in a similar situation. And what rule do we get here? The rule that we got here said you add this and this. In order to get the 2 to the 4th, which most of you got, you had to add this and this. Well, if you add 6 and 1/2, you don't get 3. Okay? So this equals 2 to the 6 plus 1/2, which is 2 to the 6.5, or even more entertaining, 2 to the 13/2, but it ain't 2 to the 3rd. Although 2 to the 13/2 is kind of close because there's a 3 in it. No, that's not really close. Okay, that wasn't an unreasonable thing to do. Okay, but if you think back to the rule, you say that that's not going to fit. If you try to check what you do, and checking your work is essential. Most people don't check their work. Okay, and people that don't check their work usually don't pass pre-calculus. If you check your work, and I'll say this again and again, you get immediate feedback. Oh, that didn't check out. I must have done something wrong. Let's go back and look at it again. And hopefully you fix it. At least you learn that whatever you did there didn't work out. And you don't want to do that. Maybe you need to clarify in class. But maybe you say, oh, duh, now I know what to do. And you fix it, and then you know it, at least for a short time. And then if you do it a few times again, it starts to sink in. That's how you learn. Okay, well, so anyhow, that didn't work. So what does work? Well, it turns out what works is 2 to the 6th times 2 to the -3 equals 2 to the third. Okay? Because if I add -3 to 6, I get 3. And that's a negative exponent. Now, what that means is, what is 2 to the -3rd? Well, let's see. Well, we can divide both sides here by 2 to the 6th, right? So you're going to get 2 to the 3rd over 2 to the 6th. Okay? Well, you could write it out as 2 times 2 times 2. This is 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2. Just barely got that last 2 in there. Okay? And well, you can write that as 2 times 2 times 2 times 1 over 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 times 2 times 2 over 2 times 2 times 2 times 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is 1 times 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is 1 over 2 to the 3rd. Got all that? Well, if you do straightforward arithmetic, then another comment is even people that get to the end of pre-calculus will cancel wrong all the time. Given half an opportunity, they'll cancel the 2 on this page with the 2 in the 12, 3 pages later. Okay? The rules for cancellation are just, people don't have them. Some people do. Very few. And talk about people at the end of a pre-calculus. So I don't want to talk about cancellation at all in this course until we really talk about the rules. Well, the point is 2 to the -3 is 1 over 2 to the 3rd. And that's through whatever this number is. If it's a negative number, it's 1 over the opposite. And of course, you could prove that, but we're out of time. I want to talk just a little bit, kind of get the wheels turning on how we can approach this stuff. And how you might want to think about it, and how you might want to think a little differently than you did in courses that don't appear to be very successful at getting the fine details that you're going to need for pre-calculus. Okay? You know a lot, but you're going to have to refine a lot of them. Okay? Yeah, be ready to do that. Okay, well, good. I'm glad to have you all here. And hope whoever's missing today, and maybe a few other people choose to come in here, because I think this course can work real well for everybody. Okay, see you next time. Be sure you follow the instructions in Canvas, etc. Okay? Get the homework done. It's all tomorrow. There's an assignment on exponents, and there's your introduction to MyOpenMath. Introduction to MyOpenMath takes only a few minutes. Some of you might even been into it before. The one on exponents might take you a while, but it's one of those things you got to know.